My name is Dawn Harris. I've been teaching for 13 years. I absolutely love what I do. I have taught classes ranging from Algebra 1, which is now called Math 1, all the way to Honors Pre-Calculus. The class that we videotaped was my Honors Math 2 class. There are 22 students in that class, and I would say a third of them are my ESL students, and they come from a variety of backgrounds. And I've really enjoyed teaching all of my students, but what I can learn from them is always exciting and new each and every semester. To start the lesson, I just, of course, started out with a warm-up lesson to activate prior knowledge of things that they knew, and we had already been solving logarithm equations. And we sometimes do a little song, so I did a little song to review the laws of exponents, because the laws of exponents relate to the laws of logarithms. So we did a song which I call the Combine Do Nothing song, and just again to access prior knowledge.
We'll resume tomorrow. And the men and women of Smith will have Smith practice today from 4 p.m. And that does it for Wednesday on construction.
All right. Make sure your name is on your index card. Pass those to the front. Pass those to the front for me. All right. Let's look at these problems. First of all, everybody get your interactive notebook on your desk. Turn to the properties. Turn to your foldable. All right. Which property does this one fall under? What's going on? What sign do you see? Huh? Addition. All right. So it sounds like we might need to sing our song a little bit. All right, because y'all gonna forget some things. Or y'all pretending like you forgot some things. All right. So we need to sing a song, don't we?
No.
Yeah, we need to sing a song. All right. So before we sing it, if we see addition, what should you be thinking? Multiplication. You see subtraction, what should you be thinking? Division. All right, and how did you know that? Okay, the song helped you out? Well, maybe some people forgot it, okay? So let's sing it again. All right? Combine, do. Multiply, you. Divide. Let's do it all again. All right? Combine. Multiply, you. Divide. We're going to do it all again, but we ain't really going to do it all again that time. All right. And then I went with, and we always go after warm-up, we always talk about our I can statements, and the students are really engaged in helping read through the I can statements. So hopefully by the end of the day, they really can tell me. First they talk about what they think the I can statement is, and at the end of the day they tell me, at the end of the class period, they tell me what the I can statement really means and what they got out the lesson. So I want you to go to your page with your unit essentials and your I can statements and your vocabulary, your common core standards. I want everybody to read the essential question for the day. Everybody read it. All right. So we want to use these logs and exponentials that we've been talking about for a couple of days to solve some real world problems. All right. We're going to go over a couple of I can statements. And we're going to talk about which ones we already talked about and which ones we're talking about today. All right? So read my top left. Do you think you can do that yet? No. If I gave you a graph of an exponential function, do you think you can Okay, let me ask you this again. If I gave you the graph of an exponential function, do you think you can recognize it? How many people say yes? How many people say yes? How many people say no? All right. Go to the top page, your right page, and what's at the top left? So you said we never went over exponential graph, but it's right there in your parent functions, and we talked about it on numerous occasions. The graph of an exponential is right there in your notebook. I really try to make sure that my students know that I'm a real person. I don't want them to think that I'm above them just because I'm the teacher. Now, they do have to respect me as the teacher, but I also want them to know that they can come to me. So sometimes that means that I must talk to them in a language that they can understand. So if that means that sometimes I use some of the language that they're using for that time period, that's what helps to build relationships with my students because they think I'm cool, I'll do it. My different students, I always ask when I'm going around, I'm like, so I want to say great. And then if I have a student that's from Vietnam, how you say that in Vietnamese? And they'll tell me how they say it in that. And so the rest of the day I'll use that language. Or, you know, if I have a Hispanic student, I might ask, how do you say this? And they'll tell me something. And so they feel like they can use their language. And I allow them to speak in their language in this classroom. And then they can interpret with each other. And they interpret with me, and they teach me a lot. So it's all kinds of languages that you will hear in my class. Okay, so you start out with 67, right? Okay, and you took out the M. Okay, so what you have left is what you count, and it goes under number 1. Okay? Then you do it again, take out the M, and it goes under number 2. These numbers is 2 or less. Don't go to 0. Now with the ones in the cup, take out the M's again, and count it again. Record that under number 2. And sometimes you might shake them and no M's come up. That's okay, put it back in the cup. Do that same one again.
That same what?
Yeah, say you did it and you had 8 and no M's came. No, as long as you got M&M's, you got what? Yes. As long as there's M&M's, you got all. I think when I'm planning my lesson and I'm thinking about my English learners, I'm always thinking about what are we going to put in our interactive notebook. That's what I really use to make sure that those students have something to take home to study. And it's also where they can kind of pinpoint to me, Ms. Harris, I didn't really understand when we was doing this foldable. I didn't really understand when we was doing this question. And so I really make sure, because what I found, the students, if I don't make them make an interactive notebook, that their work is all over the place. So in my interactive notebook, it's a place where I know what's going in there, and I know what's on each page of the notebook. So if they come and tell me, Ms. Harris, I didn't really understand logs, then I know I need to turn to page 4, and I start to go through the interactive notebook. Okay, well, did you understand this part? All right, let's look at these problems. First of all, everybody get your interactive notebook on your desk. Turn to the very front of your interactive notebook. Now, what do you see on the front of your interactive notebook? Tell what you're reading. Tell me what you're reading. Parent functions. And what are on the parent functions? Are they graphs? Equations? What do we know about these parent functions? We have equations in who? What's the first one you see? Next. Quadratic. Next. Cubic. What's at the top? Go to the next page. What did you see?
Square root.
All right. Go to the top page. We're going to number 2. Just jot this down in your notebooks as one of your examples right there in your interactive notebook. Let's go to number 2. All right. Can somebody tell me what's going on number 2? I want you to go to your interactive notebook, and I want you to put exponential growth, and I want you to copy those notes down. Interaction is really important in my classroom. I want my students to always feel like they can express an answer, whether it's right or wrong, because if it's wrong, I can correct it. It's It's not an issue in my class. So interaction is important. They interact with me in so many different ways. Again, we sing sometime. Again, my students don't have to raise their hands. If I want to call on someone specific, I'll say a name. If not, then I feel like the class can answer me as a whole. I'll ask a question, everybody answers. If somebody makes a mistake, we don't laugh or anything like that. We want everybody to feel, I call my students my family, so I want everybody to feel like family. I want to make sure it's always a friendly family atmosphere in my classroom. All right, what did she say, Calvin?
Said she thought that the long has to go outside the classroom.
All right, do you agree, Moses? All right, do you agree, Reggie? Can he cross out the logs if they're on the same side? In order to cross out a log, one needs to be on the who? Left, and one needs to be on the all right. Connect those dots. That's what I'm looking for. That looks good. Start looking at this part, Fantasia. See if you can figure it out. Look at what they're saying up here. Think about your data. See if you can come up with an equation for it. That looks good. That's what I'm looking for. Everybody should be putting the data in, because then you know that everybody got the same equation. So then you using it to verify that you don't depend on one person. Everybody put the data in. Now, I just always want to make sure that I keep my lessons interesting. I want my students to love math. I want them to understand that it's not as hard as a lot of people want to make it, but you have to make math interesting to students, and you have to make it relevant to them. There's a lot of topics in math that students don't understand the relevance to it in the real world. And that's why I always try to point out in every lesson that I teach a relevance to real world lesson. All right, so what do our M&Ms represent? Cancer cells. Okay, so what is our goal for today? I can what?
Use all the potential functions of its own real world.
Is cancer real world?
Yes.
Cancer is real, ain't it? All right? So that's why we're talking about cancer. A lot of times students say, Ms. Harris, why are we talking about laws and exponentials? We ain't gonna never use that in the world. But yeah, laws and exponentials are used a lot in real world. All right? And so we're gonna model what happens to cancerous cells using this little activity. All right? You're going to start with 2 M&Ms in your cup. One person's doing the cup, one person is recording. Shake up your cup, turn the M&Ms over. Every time you see an M, all right, so in 0 you put 2. It's already there for you. So you shake it up. Everybody in this group right here, put 2 M&Ms in your cup. You guys hold on for a second. Shake it up and do it on your napkin. That's why I gave you a napkin. All right, so how many M's do you see?
1.
All right, so now you're going to get one more M&M and you're going to add to your pile. And under number 1, you're going to put, how many M&Ms do you have now? 3. Then you're going to put those 3 in there. You're going to shake it up, and however many M's are up, you're going to add those, count them, do it again. Everybody with me? You know, like, and everything with an M, put them back in your bag. Okay? Take a look at both of these equations. Both of these graphs. Everybody take a look. Now, what are we talking about here? What are we modeling in the real world? We're talking about cancer cells, right? So what's the difference between these 2 equations or these 2 graphs? Okay, so one is going who? And one is going? Okay, that's good. That's good observation. All right? But how do you think that relates to cancer? So, what's happening to the person with cancer right here?
They don't have any treatment.
Huh?
They don't have any treatment.
Maybe they don't have any treatment. What else might be happening? Huh? It's getting who? Worse. What else might be happening? The stage of the cancer might be who? Hi, what stage do you think was happening right here? Okay. And then what happened right here?
Stage 4.
So, what we call this exponential growth. Why would we call it exponential growth?
Let's go
Because it's growing. So what you think we call this one? Not exponential down. Exponential decay. At the beginning, when I'm assessing the students, I typically start out with a warm-up to access prior knowledge. I'm going to always start with questioning. Even if they can't answer some of the warm-up questions, I'm going to question them to pull out some of the things they didn't even know that they understood. They're going to ask each other questions and as they're asking each other questions and telling each other the answer, I'm walking around listening to the answers to hear what they're saying. I typically will also do a lot of questioning throughout the lesson as I walk around the classroom, as I'm circulating. And I'll try to have some type of assessment toward the end of the class period, ticket out the door, maybe a conversation, a journal entry, some type of assessment at the end of class to see if did they really understand. We'll always go back again over the I can statements so that when I'm assessing at the end, they know what I'm assessing. All right, so you and Fantasia, I want y'all to write down as much as y'all know. So when I look at that index card, I'll know where you're stuck at, and I can get you through the hump. But I need to know what you know, so you got to write something down. Write down as much as you know, and when you get stuck, that's where you stop, okay? All right. Make sure your name is on your index card. Pass those to the front. Just out of curiosity, as you pass them to the front, how many people think they got both problems right? You're not sure? How many people think they got one of them right? Okay, which one seemed to be hard? One or two? Two. So everybody feeling confident on one. Y'all knocked that out hard. Okay, all right, but two is. All right, well, let's talk about it for a second. Okay, so what you have left is what you count, and it goes under number 1. Okay? Then you do it again, take up the other, and it goes under number 2. All right, everybody understand over here? Okay, y'all don't hate. What was our goal for the day? I can use these functions in the real who. Did we talk about real world? What kind of stuff did we talk about? Cancer and mice and who? What's the most important? Money. All right? So in addition to trying those problems, I want you to find me 2 more ways in the real world that we can use these formulas. You're going to do your ticket out the door on the index card. Each person has to turn in a ticket out the door. You can do it with your partner, but each person has to turn in an index card. It says go back to the M&M activity. So you have to boil an M&M activity out that you and your partner use. I want you to look at your equation that you and your partner came up, and I want you to write that equation on your index card first. The next thing I want you to do in part A, I want you to identify the initial amount of your problem. B, I want you to identify the growth factor. You can use your notes. And identify the growth rate. Now, you can talk about it with your partner. It's okay to talk about these answers with your partner. Yes. All right, leave your calculator on the desk. I'll collect those. All your other material goes with you. Raise your hand and we'll collect the index cards. First thing I would say, get to know your students and their needs. And once you understand their needs, then you can tailor your lessons to make sure that you're using the appropriate tools to help those students to understand the concepts. I use a lot of foldables and whiteboards, but I really try to get to know the students and see what they need, and I tailor each lesson in each classroom based on the needs of those students.